So we catch a lot of people that are very earlier in their career. I mean, literally, I just stapled this morning, and we have full conversations with them. And that has really been interesting in that it's built a fierce loyalty from them to us. We joke around a lot that we adopt creators, but that really is what we do. You know, they become part of what we kind of call our family, and they start showing up on the website. They share, you know, there's a real back and forth, and they've been some of our biggest town criers for getting people to listen to our various shows on our website. So, yeah, it's just making friendships has been even more than ever buying an ad or showing up at a show. It's knowing these people who talk to other people who say, hey, you know, they've got a real open door. That's helped us.
You know, I think I found early on, and I was one of the earlier comic book podcasts, not as early as you got, pretty early. I found that there were a pretty small community of comic book podcasters, and we've done a lot to promote each other. You know, and you guys in particular, Brian, you know, with the forums that you put up and all that, it really helped. I know the listenership of my podcast and being on your show and other shows has been a really great thing. But I think the cooperation that we've all had with each other, as opposed to being in competition with one another, we've all cooperated with one another and cross-promoted our shows. I guess helped quite a bit as well.
Well, yeah, I always give you guys the match. I was in London recently at Bristol Comic had a panel there, and I was like, I think we need to thank CGS for creating those forums for us, because it created this community. And we all, I mean, I'm really good friends with these guys in England, you know, guys and girls in England. And I've finally got to meet a lot of them, and we've become really good friends, and all of us are friends here. And it's because of that. We all, I mean, with the advent of Twitter and Facebook, so, you know, the forums can be a little up and down lately, but it's like, but for a while, that was a place where we all communicated. It was just like, hey, we jumped from somebody's forum to that forum to the main one with you guys, and it was really great. And I still mad props to you guys for doing that. So.
Yeah, the forum is definitely a huge part of it. I mean, it really, it takes like, you know, it gives our community a place to, you know, kind of cross-pollinate. You know, I know we've had, you know, CGS listeners who just finally, you know, once in a while try out our show, and you know, sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. But you know, between that and like you were saying about coming to shows and stuff, just this morning somebody came up to our table and had never heard of us, and I told him like what we do and kind of the vibe of our show. He says, like, that sounds like right up my alley. He asked how long we've been doing it. I said, you know, it's like 4.5 years plus. He's like, I can't believe I haven't heard of it yet. So you still do pick up people here at shows, and you know, when you get linked from other places, so once in a while Heidi will run something about us. Or, you know, once in a blue moon, Dirk will mention our show if we're God willing.
Well, that's what's great. I think we've talked about this in a panel maybe last year, or we talked about it over at the thing when we did about the comics media, the real journalists. You know, I felt like at first didn't really embrace us, but then they kind of came around, and they really do. Like Heidi's one of our biggest supporters of the Beat. If you don't know her blog, it's amazing. She's always like in there, one of us, and giving us props about this and that. You know, I guess every once in a while news around when I do something.
Really?
Yeah, I said not as much. Every once in a while. Some will have favorites they pick out a lot, but you know, yeah. But it is nice to see, like, Laura Hudson from Comics Alliance just walk by, she'll link to us on occasion, you know, or all of us on occasion.
And Tom Spurgeon, if there's an interview of note, he'll certainly mention that.
Yeah, he's really good about it too. So it's nice that the real journalists have, you know, started to embrace us a little more. So
I've heard that comic related site talks about you guys from time to time.
Yeah, I heard that too.
No.
are they still around?
Yeah, I think so. No.
Jimmy, you say an interesting thing though, when the real journalists, and I think at this point with, you know, 5 years ago when most of us got started, we weren't journalists. We didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Right.
But now, I would think that we could fall into that category.
Oh yeah.
I mean, our interviewing skills have gotten to the point where we know what we're doing, and we have enough connections in the industry to that they're using us and we're using them, and that's how it works, right? That's what journalists do, and
yeah, I agree to an extent.
And that's, I think, part of the problem is why, you know, podcasting as a whole hasn't gone to the next level, is because people still aren't treating it as if we're professionals.
Right.
And none of us might do it for a living yet, but that doesn't mean we're not professional.
Right.
Right.
But there's still a lot of people out there that don't even know what a podcast is.
Right. But I mean, even within the people who do know, like they don't, you know, the fact that Marvel might call Newsarama first when they want to promote something instead of calling one of us, it's like, well, okay, and Newsarama has more readers than our podcasts all combined have listeners. Sure, I don't doubt that. But that doesn't mean that we can't offer a valuable way of communicating these things that are as different from the Newsarama readers, you know. Because our listeners, I think, are way more engaged, and I say ours are together, our listeners are more engaged than people who go to Newsarama and just read a blog post.
Yeah.
I would agree. I totally agree.
And so in a way, we should be more valuable than those hundreds of thousands of Newsarama readers, you know. Our tens of thousands of listeners maybe mean more. And we need to, that's the hurdle, right? Is how do we let Marvel and DC and all the companies understand that we're important to them, whether they know it or not.
I think the companies as a whole might not, but I think the creators do.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Some of the editors do too.
Some of the editors do too, but I think, you know, it needs to go deeper, right?
Yeah.
We need to be on the top front of that Rolodex, and I don't mean this just for like, I want to be important and I want Joe Casado to call me. I just mean like to continue
You want me to have him call you, Bart?
yeah. but to continue the momentum of podcasting and to for the benefit of everyone, if they started treating us seriously.
I understand what you're saying. This is something we talked about again in Bristol, and I think we talked about here last week, the whole media thing, all the media. We're definitely considered new media.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I struggle to still say that we're while I agree we've gotten better at interviewing, and I think we bring a professional aspect to it. I think the problem is there's so many new podcasts that pop up left and right within the comics medium that just aren't. And they kind of don't care. They don't have any sort of ethics about it. They'll, you know, so I've seen it. I've had creators tell me that they've been approached by certain shows, like they're, oh my God, they were really professional. They were kind of rude. This and that. So it kind of lumps us all
Is that any
together.
different than any other media? Is that
No,
if
not at
you
all.
there are 1,000,001 magazines, you know, little local town newspaper magazine things that are terrible.
Yeah.
But when someone has a news story to report, they call Time magazine, or they call Newsweek, or they call the New York Times, but they're not going to call, you know, Bob's, you know, little newspaper in some little town somewhere. But eventually, if he gets a reputation, then he becomes a big boy.
Unless
right?
they favor, which is actually something I think we've started doing, which I think is also good for us. Unless that little paper all of a sudden says, "I love this movie," you know, then they'll use that quote, which I think is great. People have started coming to us to have quotes on the back of their trade paperbacks,
Yeah.
which is great. Like along with like so and so from Newsarama, Brian from Comic Geek Speak says, "2 thumbs up, I love it," you know, whatever. I think that's great. 'Cause I think that helps add a little more exposure as well.
Or they're a member of the AP, and they
Right,
get their
right.
news feed that way, but it's a
Right.
conglomeration of sources, which is kind of what we've done over the years. You know, you combine your efforts, and I think you have better success that way. You know, the more you can do that, I think the more respect you get from the industry. My podcast isn't anything to do with journalism or anything like that. It's more.
Well, it is, though.
Well, in a way, but it's more of a hobby. You know, it's getting into the old books and the hobby. I interview some of the old creators and whatnot, but you know, I'm not on the cutting edge of what's happening in the comic book world.
Yeah, but there are people like, I mean, journalism is a broad term, right? Like,
Sure.
I think everybody would say that, you know, all the people at Tomorrow's are journalists, right? You know, they're writing historical record stuff that is important for the industry, right? And everybody respects Eric Nolan Wennington and all those guys because they're doing the industry a service. And you're doing the same thing. Yeah, you might not be breaking the new news about the newest Marvel crossover, but you're providing a service that is journalism. You're taking time, you're doing research, you're writing, you're putting thoughts together and presenting it in a package, which is almost in a way much better than what we do. Like, let's just talk about the new thing and speculate about what's going to come out. You know, you do more work than we are, and so that's journalism.
But I would say that in a lot of ways we're doing